She looked like just another tired passenger in seat 12F, quietly doing her crossword puzzle. But when two F-22 fighter jets appeared beside the plane, everything changed. The moment she spoke her old call sign on the radio, both pilots saluted her in the sky. Who was she really? Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. Maria Coleman was 50 years old, and she liked quiet things. She liked window seats, she liked tea instead of coffee, and she liked crossword puzzles that nobody bothered her about. On that Tuesday morning, she was sitting in seat 12F on a flight from Phoenix to Washington. She wore a plain gray jacket and simple black shoes. Nobody on the plane looked at her twice. That was exactly how she wanted it. She was flying to Virginia for a job interview. After 2 years without steady work, she needed this job badly. Her bag held only a few clothes, a folder of papers, and an old blue pen she had carried for many years. To everyone around her, she looked like any other tired traveler heading to a meeting. Nobody could see the small scar near her left eyebrow. Nobody could see the years she had spent flying some of the fastest jets in the world. Nobody knew that, once, people called her by a different name in the sky. The flight was calm for the first hour. Maria worked on her crossword and sipped her tea. Then a teenage boy near the window suddenly pointed outside and shouted, "Look! Fighter jets!" Within seconds, half the cabin was leaning toward the windows. Phones came out. People gasped. 2 F-22 Raptors had appeared beside the plane, flying in perfect formation. Their gray bodies shined sharply against the blue sky. The passengers were amazed, but Maria barely lifted her head. She had seen jets like this many times before. She knew their shape, their sound, even the small details of how they moved. To her, it felt strange watching them from a passenger seat instead of a cockpit. A flight attendant named Olivia walked down the aisle, trying to calm everyone. "It's probably just a training exercise," she said kindly, though her own eyes were wide with excitement. When she reached Maria's row, she noticed how calm the woman looked. "Doesn't this scare you?" Olivia asked. Maria smiled politely. "They're good pilots," she said simply, then returned to her puzzle. Olivia paused for a second, surprised by her quiet confidence, but moved on to the next row. 20 minutes passed, and the jets did not leave. They stayed close, almost like guards. The passengers grew nervous, whispering questions to each other. Then the captain's voice came over the speaker, but this time his tone was different, careful, almost confused. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Wells. We have received an unusual request from the military aircraft beside us. They are asking to speak with a passenger in seat 12F. If that is you, please press your call button." The entire cabin went silent. Heads turned toward Maria. Her heart pounded once, hard, before she steadied herself. She pressed the button. A flight attendant arrived almost instantly and asked her to come to the front of the plane. As Maria walked down the aisle, passengers stared at her in confusion. She had seemed like the most ordinary woman on the flight. Now she was being called to the cockpit by fighter jets. Inside the cockpit, Captain Wells turned to her with a serious expression. "Ma'am, I've been flying for 20 years, and I've never seen anything like this. The lead pilot wants to talk to you directly, on a secure channel. He says it's urgent." Maria took a slow breath. She had spent 15 years trying to leave her old life behind. But some doors, once opened, never fully closed. She put on the headset. The radio crackled. A voice came through, calm but firm. "Flight 1847, this is Falcon 1. Requesting to confirm contact with passenger Coleman, seat 12F." Maria pressed the switch to talk. "Falcon 1, this is Coleman. I copy." There was a pause. Then the voice changed, no longer just professional, it now carried something like respect, even surprise. Ma'am, I need you to confirm your old call sign for verification. Maria closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about the quiet life she had built, the small apartment, the morning walks, the years of trying to forget. But the past was calling her back. My call sign was Shadow, she said. Former test pilot, Edwards Air Force Base. I worked on the early F-22 systems. The cockpit went silent. Captain Wells and his co-pilot stared at her, stunned. For a moment, nobody on the radio spoke at all. Then, through the cockpit windscreen, Maria saw it. The lead F-22, flying just off the wing, dipped its nose slightly and rocked its wings once, a clear, deliberate salute in the sky. The second jet, a few seconds later, did the exact same thing. Captain Wells let out a breath. I've flown for 20 years, he said quietly, and I've never seen a fighter pilot salute a passenger before. Back in the cabin, the passengers had seen it too. Through the small oval windows, dozens of phones were pointed at the jets, recording the strange, graceful dip of their wings. Nobody understood why two fighter jets had just bowed in the sky, but everyone could feel that something important was happening. The teenage boy who had first spotted the jets turned to his mother, eyes wide. Mom, did you see that? They saluted someone. His mother shook her head slowly, just as confused as everyone else. The businessman in seat 12D, who had been filming the jets since they first appeared, lowered his phone and looked toward the empty seat where the quiet woman in gray had been sitting only minutes before. Who is she? He whispered to no one in particular. Whispers spread down the aisle like a wave, passenger to passenger, each one repeating the same question. Nobody had an answer, but everyone agreed on one thing: whoever she was, the United States Air Force clearly knew her, and respected her. Inside the cockpit, Captain Wells turned to his co-pilot, still slightly stunned. In all my years flying, I've delivered passengers to weddings, funerals, even a few celebrities. I have never once seen a fighter escort salute someone in seat 12F. His co-pilot only nodded, too surprised to find the right words. The pilot's voice returned on the radio, lower now, full of meaning. Shadow, it's an honor to escort you today. We have a serious situation, and we need your help. Are you able to accept an emergency diversion to Nellis Air Force Base? Maria's mind raced. A diversion like this only happened for major emergencies. What's going on? She asked. We can't explain everything over open radio. But ma'am, this involves the F-22 program. Something is wrong, and you might be the only person who can help us understand it. Maria looked out at the two jets flying beside the plane. Their wings barely moved, perfectly steady, exactly like she remembered. Whatever was happening, it was serious enough to stop a commercial flight and call back someone from 15 years of silence. I accept, she said. Within minutes, the plane changed direction. The passengers were told there would be a short stop in Las Vegas due to operational reasons. Most didn't understand what that meant, but they could tell something important was happening, especially when they noticed the fighter jets escorting them all the way down. After landing, Maria was met on the runway by a military helicopter. A young officer named Sergeant Diaz saluted her immediately. Ma'am, please come with me. Colonel Hayes is expecting you. The helicopter ride to Nellis Air Force Base took only minutes, but for Maria, it felt like flying back through time. She had once spent years on this very base, testing some of the most advanced aircraft ever built. Seeing the runways again brought back memories she had pushed away for a long time. Colonel James Hayes greeted her personally. He had been a young engineer back when they worked together, and now he led a major part of the F-22 program. Shadow, he said warmly, shaking her hand. It's been a long time. I wish the reason was better. Tell me what's happening, Maria said. Hayes led her into a secure room filled with screens and data. 3 days ago, several F-22 jets began having strange problems with their electronic systems. The issue only happens at high altitude, during certain missions. We've checked the hardware and software, both are clean. But the signals causing the problem don't match anything we've seen before. Maria studied the data on the screen. The patterns were unusual, almost too precise. This isn't random interference, she said. Someone designed this specifically to target our systems. They know our aircraft very well, too well. A young pilot named Captain Reyes, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. We were hoping you could help us understand the system architecture. You helped design parts of it, didn't you? I did, Maria said. And if someone built something this advanced to attack it, then we're not dealing with a simple technical problem. This is electronic warfare. The room grew tense. Hayes explained that 17 aircraft across different bases had been affected. The interference seemed to be testing the jet's defenses, almost like someone was studying their weaknesses one step at a time. Maria spent the next several hours reviewing technical files, comparing old designs with new ones, and searching for any unusual access patterns. She noticed something strange. A few signals seemed to originate from satellite communication frequencies, not ordinary jamming equipment. This is being done through modified satellite systems, she said finally. That takes serious money and serious technical skill. This isn't some random hacker. This is something bigger. Hayes nodded grimly. We suspected something like that. Which is why we need a real test. Tomorrow, we want to send an aircraft up, deliberately trigger the same interference, and study how it behaves in real time. We need someone who understands the original systems to help us prepare a defense. Maria felt a familiar mix of fear and purpose. She had once promised herself she would never fly a fighter jet again after the accident that ended her career. But the people in this room needed her, and the safety of many pilots depended on solving this problem quickly. I'll help build the test, she said. But if you want my full understanding of how this works, I need to be the one flying it. The room fell silent. Hayes studied her carefully. Are you sure? It's been 15 years. I designed parts of this aircraft, Maria said. If anyone can handle whatever is waiting up there, it's me. After a quick but thorough medical check, Maria was approved for limited flight duty. The doctor was surprised by how strong and steady she still was, both physically and mentally. That evening, she walked across the runway toward the same kind of aircraft she had once flown for the U.S. Air Force. The cool desert air felt familiar, almost like coming home. Captain Reyes helped her review the upgraded F-22 system. Many things had changed since her time, but the core design she remembered clearly. Together with a small team, they built a special defense program meant to detect and respond to the unknown interference faster than before. The next morning, Maria sat in the cockpit again for the first time in over a decade. Her hands moved naturally over the controls, as if no time had passed at all. The engines roared to life, and within minutes, she was climbing high above the Nevada desert. At 35,000 feet, the warning signals began. Faint at first, then stronger, exactly like the reports described. The new defense system activated immediately, working to block and study the unknown attack. Maria felt the aircraft shake slightly as it adjusted, fighting against an invisible enemy in the sky. Ghost, we're seeing strong electronic activity targeting your jet, came Hayes's voice from the ground. How are your systems holding? Holding steady, Maria replied, watching her screens carefully. The defense is adapting. It's learning from the attack pattern. For several tense minutes, Maria flew through sharp turns and altitude changes, testing how the interference responded to her movements. The new system successfully blocked each attempt, growing smarter with every attack. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the interference stopped completely. All clear, Maria reported. The signal has shut down. Back on the ground, the team studied the data with amazement. The defense system had worked exactly as planned. More importantly, the test gave them enough information to understand who might be behind the attacks and how to stop them permanently. That evening, after landing safely, Colonel Hayes met Maria on the runway with 2 cups of coffee. The sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the sky orange and gold. "You did it," he said, smiling. "You may have just saved the program." Maria looked out at the runway, the same place where her old career had ended years ago. For so long, she had tried to live quietly, hiding from her past. But today, she had found something she didn't expect, a reason to use her skills again, to matter again. "What happens now?" she asked. "That depends on you," Hayes said. "We could use someone like you here. Permanently." Maria thought about her quiet apartment, her crossword puzzles, the calm life she had built. It had been peaceful, but something had always felt missing. Today, flying again, solving a real problem, she had felt fully alive for the first time in years. "I think I'm ready to come back," she said softly. Hayes smiled and raised his coffee cup. "Welcome back, Shadow." As the sky turned dark and the first stars appeared, Maria stood on the runway, no longer just a quiet passenger in seat 12F. She was exactly who she had always been, a skilled pilot, a protector of the skies, ready once again to serve a purpose bigger than herself. Later that night, Maria sat alone in the small guest quarters the base had given her, looking at her old flight jacket, which someone had found and brought from storage. The leather was worn, the patches faded, but it still fit her shoulders the same way it had 15 years ago. She ran her fingers over the small wings pinned near the collar and thought about how strange life could be. A few days ago, she had been worried about paying rent and passing a job interview. Now she was being asked to help protect the security of an entire nation. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from the defense company in Virginia, asking if she could reschedule her interview. She smiled and typed back a polite reply, explaining that something urgent had come up. She did not mention fighter jets, or Nellis Air Force Base, or her old call sign. Some things were still better left unsaid. The next morning, Colonel Hayes walked her through the new operations building, introducing her to a team of young engineers and pilots who would be working under her guidance. Many of them had heard stories about the legendary test pilot known as Shadow, but few had believed she was real. Now she stood in front of them, calm and steady, ready to teach them everything she knew. Captain Reyes approached her after the meeting. "Ma'am, can I ask you something? When that jet saluted you on the radio that day, what did it feel like?" Maria thought for a moment before answering. "It felt like coming home," she said softly. "Like the sky remembered me, even after all those years." As she walked toward the flight line, watching new recruits practice their pre-flight checks, Maria realized that her journey was far from over. The threats they had uncovered were only the beginning, and there would be more challenges ahead. But for the first time in 15 years, she felt ready to face them, not as a hidden passenger trying to disappear into a crowd, but as Shadow, standing proudly where she belonged, among the pilots, the engineers, and the brave men and women who protected the skies above.